republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So Michelle, will you do a roll call?
I will. Vogel.
Here.
Montgomery.
Here.
Reddick. I'm gonna butcher it, Sam, I'm sorry. Marowski.
Here.
Boozy.
Here.
And McLeod is absent for sickness.
Okay. So did everyone have a chance to read and look over the minutes? Any deletions, corrections, additions to be made?
I'll move that the minutes be approved as presented.
Second.
Thank you. So before we begin, I just want to thank you for coming tonight to the City Planning Commission. Just a couple rules. So when you are going to speak or and talk in favor or in dispute of, please say your full name. Say your first name, last name, your address, and your phone number. And just slow enough that Michelle can get it. She'll probably tell you if she didn't get it. We try to keep our speaking to a minimum when it's in discussion. So, and the speaker, whoever's here for coming to speak for their hearing, can use that podium and that microphone. Or you don't have to, you can speak from where you are. Just talk with us to begin with at least, and then if you, if we have people that want to comment, you can comment to them at that point, but we'll have you just speak to the people here at the front here, the commissioners. So first we're going to just start if there's any public comment unrelated to items on the agenda. Okay, so having seen none, we're going to go into our public hearing part. So our first order of business was a rezoning request, but we will not be having a public hearing on that tonight about the 1201 Woodward rezoning request. We've asked for it to be postponed. So we're going to jump over top of that one. If you were here for that one is going to be postponed to a later date. So we'll move down to...
Sarah, can I interject?
Yes.
And
Yes.
just say,
Yes.
let everyone know that public notices will be resent
Okay,
for that one. If you
Okay.
received a public notice the first time, we will resend out public notice again
okay.
when they
Public notice will go out again. Okay.
choose to move forward.
Okay, perfect, good. Okay, so we're gonna move down to our second item, which is 1250 Perry Avenue. We have a special use and site plan review for a car wash in an existing parking lot area. So we have someone here to speak on that. You, yes, and you're Mr. Bowman, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I will hand it over to you, just let Michelle know your info, and then you can dive in.
So, I'm Jeffrey Bowman, 50 Perry Street. I'm the owner of that property, or part owner of that property, and we wish to develop a car wash in the southeast corner of that parking lot. This is a tunnel car wash, employed. There will be employees operating the business.
Okay.
The tunnel is approximately 34 feet by, depending on how the design and the engineers work it out, but somewhere between 30 and 130 feet. Conveyor belt type system.
Okay.
Obviously, an existing C1 is what you would call zoning in the city of Big Rapids. I've submitted some preliminary, concept drawings for the facility. Not exactly sure what else or what other information you would like from me at this time, but more than willing to tell you what I know.
So first of all, do I have anyone here who wants to speak in favor of the car wash? Do I have anyone who wants to speak against the development of a car wash? Okay, so, Michelle, do you have anything to share with us concerning the car wash?
I just have my staff report looking in the packet, so, staff is making a recommendation of approval. So it's a special use, so it's a two-step process. The planning commission's the first step, the second step would be going to the city commission. Sometimes we have full sets of site plans during special uses and sometimes we don't. It's very costly to do all the engineering for a full set of site plans.
Yeah.
Prior to knowing if you're allowed to do the use. So
Yeah.
staff would recommend that we move forward with a special use, have the applicant, after it goes through the special use process, come back with a full set of site plans for public review at that time. And then we would recommend approval to a recommendation of approval to the city commission.
Okay.
I haven't received any phone calls or contact from any public on the request.
Okay. All right, good to know. So if anyone, wants to speak, now would be your chance.
I just have a question. I didn't get the address of where this is gonna be.
Oh, it's gonna be at 1250, or 1201, I'm sorry, 1250 Perry, so Perry Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically out in front of Farm and Home, along the Perry Street though, like quite a distance from the store.
Just west of the water tower.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So if you're gonna speak, you just need to know your name, please.
Jack Fraser. I live at 522 Bailey
Yep,
Speedway.
yep,
And just a piece of history, we came here for the other reason,
okay, I
for the
figured.
development.
Okay, yep,
However, in our original appearance here regarding Bailey
yeah,
and the repaving of the Speedway, we had requested a stop sign at Dexter and Bailey. We were told at that time that this would create a conflict with the traffic. Well, the only conflict I can see that it might have done was slow them down. I can tell you where most of the cars come from. I've casually seen where they are, time of day, schools, people trying to get to work, et cetera, school buses going up the thing. I would still like to see the stop sign. So that's my request. I'll leave it there.
Stop sign on Fuller.
On Bailey at Dexter. The little road that connects Ridgeview to Bailey,
Yeah.
so
On Bailey.
basically
On
half,
Bailey and Dexter.
on Bailey.
about
yes.
1/3 of the way.
Well, it would
up
be a
the
three,
road.
for safety, it would have to be a three-way stop. Dexter as well.
But I'm sorry, to clarify, that's not anything to do with what we're talking about at the moment, which is the
She
site
did
plan.
open up.
Yep,
That
so
was
it's,
my understanding.
it's fine, Mr. Fraser, we just would have you usually talk about that in, business that's not on the agenda, so unrelated items, okay, but it's fine.
Moved it out of place, I'm sorry.
That's all
No,
right.
I wanted to make sure I was understanding right. I apologize, or I wasn't, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're
That's all right.
fine. I'm glad
All
you,
right.
no, you're good, you're good. So we will note that for sure, it's something that we will definitely talk about at some point, on our own.
We'll get out of your way.
Oh, you're fine, Mr. Fraser, you know you're good. All right, so, if we don't have anyone that is here to talk in rebuttal of this car wash or in favor, do you have something to say?
I was here for one, so
Oh, you were, okay. Okay, so you're free to go if that was what you're.
appreciate it.
So we're gonna close the open session. And we're gonna go into fact finding so that we can discuss it amongst ourselves, so. There'll be probably a lot of questions coming your way, get ready.
No problem. I'll do my best.
Alright, so does anyone here, of the commissioners have anything that they'd like to ask, any questions?
I have a question for
Yes,
you.
sir.
So you say
Lori,
you're,
can you move the microphone? When,
I can hear.
I know, but when I redo minutes, I can't hear them.
Most people prefer not to hear me. But
Can't hear it on the
whenever
line.
you say that you're a partner in that strip mall there, so what are your plans? Because I see the concerns that they have about the stacking of vehicles coming out to that light right there. And I was there today, stuck in that stack, and people are cutting in from the left, cutting in from the right. I'm just wondering, do you have a plan to make that a little bit better, some sort of direction on the pavement of how people should proceed, your actual turn lanes leaving the place, so people know where they need to be in what lane in order to go the direction that they want to go?
So yes, the simple answer is yes, sir. I don't, I'm obviously not an engineer, but through medians and, so the preliminary drawing was through Mid-Michigan Engineering, which I think I submitted. Maybe it's in your packet, I don't know. But definitely, I understand that's a, busy shopping center. And I think through medians and traffic flow, from an engineer's standpoint, it's obtainable to make it much more fluid and actually probably better than it is in its current state.
Okay.
That would be crucial to not only the operation of the car wash, but the other tenants that are involved there. They would almost require it as well, right? So like, you need to be able to get the customers not only to Planet, Family Farm, down the line. So definitely, an engineering concern, I can't answer it from an engineering perspective because I'm not one, but, once, my understanding is, once, I get blessing, so blessing is the next step, then significant dollars will be spent, to not only engineer that site, but to engineer the reflow of traffic.
Okay. My biggest thing was I just wanted to make sure somebody had an eye on that because it is a little confusing leaving there. So I
Yeah,
know
and
where
also,
I'm
this is
going,
more of a
but-
question than it is a statement. The understanding of how that all works through MDOT and different, people that would govern over this change, I'm sure they would weigh in on that.
That's
Yeah, if you're not changing your drives, I'm not sure if MDOT will weigh in a lot, but they could, cause there's a light there, and that's a MDOT road, but, I would definitely think like our chief of police and our fire are gonna, and they're part of our review process for the site plan, so we'll.
And I would highly doubt that MDOT would even allow another penetration.
Probably not.
So, that being said, the flow of the parking lot would have to be, has to make sense for everybody.
I wanted to ask a clarifying question. You said the length of the facility could be 30 to 130?
Well, that's entrance to exit.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry if I misspoke. The tunnel itself would be smaller than that. That's just entrance to exit.
Okay, all right.
So that includes like deceleration lanes, approach lanes. So you'll come in and on the entrance, you'll Y and there'll be two and then
Sure.
the exit
Sure.
flow.
Okay. Makes sense. I was just like, man, 130-foot car wash. I don't know if there's room there for like, I thought
No,
the tunnel was
I'm
130 feet.
actually like curb to curb,
Gotcha.
like, or,
Yeah.
sorry.
What do you think, Tim?
The first thing I'd like to clarify is, on the agenda, it says, special use and site plan review. Are we doing both tonight?
I would recommend you only do the special use.
So, I think that's important for us to know. Could you then explain what do you need us to do tonight for this property?
To move forward, the special use goes first to the plan commission, then to the city commission. So the planning commission has to make a recommendation of approval or denial to the city commission on the special use of an automobile drive-through related facility, which is why it has to get a special use.
Why does it need a special use? What are the criteria for a special use?
It's, so, under,
I think you said the drive-through,
yeah,
Was-
automobile related
okay?
businesses in the C1 district, similar to, do you remember when we did Consumers Credit Union and they had
Yeah.
the drive-through,
I do.
bank facilities?
I do, yeah.
So it's the same reason for that drive-through facility needing a special use.
But in that case, we did the site plan also.
You also did the site plan that time, yes.
So it seems like it's a little difficult for us to do a special, think about the special use and not seeing the plan, if that's the issue. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the drive-through plan, the engineered plans, I think it's, in my mind, it's kind of you need both of them to figure it out. But we can,
I
you
do.
know what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I think with this property being as large as it is, you know, there's the ability if something on the site plan doesn't work, as we start going through that process, there's room for adjustment.
Okay.
It's somewhat more
Makes
unique
sense.
than most properties.
That does make sense to me, thank you.
Can I just add to some of the more, complications that I will have as well? So submitted a rough engineering drawing, very rough. My understanding is, ask for the approval here, gets forwarded on. Once that gets approved this is my understanding, there'll be contingencies along the way, right? And there's also contingencies that I have with multiple tenants there. So all these national tenants, Marshalls,
Farm and home.
just down the road,
Joann's for now.
all of them have lease restrictions in there. So not only do I have to get the approval of the city, but I have to then negotiate all that approval through all those tenants.
Okay.
So before I spend, tens and tens of thousands of dollars on specific engineering drawings, I want to make sure that I know that I have your blessing before I then take it, down the road to a bunch of other challenges that I'll have.
I appreciate that, thank
Yeah.
you.
Jacob, do you have anything?
I had one more clarifying question. In the kind of satellite picture of the special use request, it highlights the specific building, which would be on the east end of the complex. Is that restricted to what's highlighted in blue? Okay,
Yes, cause it's a separate parcel.
gotcha. Okay.
Sam, you have any
Nope,
questions?
I kinda reviewed it, earlier today, and I kinda understand it as this is kind of the first step, to get the change put in there, then we'll come back with drawings and take a better look at it.
So you own that property that follows along the side there of Perry? There's just that one section you own?
No, I own that entire shopping plaza.
Okay.
Just have it parceled out.
So it was originally that was a Kmart shopping plaza. That's an individual tax ID.
Yep.
And then there's three tax IDs, I think, for that.
Okay, okay.
So all three tax parcels, Gen 3 owns, which I'm 25% owner. I mean, I
Okay.
own it with my family.
So the only thing I was thinking of is, do semi-trucks go down and around in the back of those
Well,
buildings?
That southeast corner of that parking lot is basically unutilized. I mean,
Okay.
it's just,
So semi-trucks don't use it as a path for getting down and around?
it's, if you look, I mean, we store snow up there, you know, I mean,
Okay.
it's just,
Okay, so it's further back than I even
Yeah.
realized, okay. Yeah, other than that, I mean, I just thought, oh, I suppose things have to be able to get to the back of those buildings for product, but, I'm concerned about all of the entry and stuff. It's too bad you couldn't have an entry close to the back, come in one way and go out the other way. But I was looking at the map here and I just thought, it'll be fun to see what you guys develop for how that will work. I'm sure it'll look nice.
yes, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but
You have an idea in your head of how it will
we
look.
intend to make a nice, I feel, improvement to the city of Big Rapids.
Okay, well, that's awesome. We need that. So at this time, I
I have
have,
another question.
that's fine, Tim. Yeah, I'm good as long as, city commission is good with it. I'm good to put it through to them and, go ahead, Tim.
Your utilities, water, sewer, storm, you're confident that you have all those available to you?
So, that's an interesting question. So, obviously, there's city water and city sewer there. Again, that goes back to some engineering questions that I'm not
Okay.
qualified to speak to. It has been mentioned to me, I don't know if Michelle mentioned it to me or somebody, that we would potentially maybe stab a well in for that facility and use that water, but still use, city sewer. And again, I think that will come at the contingency approval that I'm assuming will happen at the next level. They'll be like, okay, we'll approve your car wash. Now you go out and invest the engineering cost in a Class B real site plan, which we would be willing to do at that point. And then, based on those findings, then, okay, subject to these
Sure.
conditions, we'll approve it, but you have to now give us engineered drawings and invest some real money.
And the only reason I ask is part of the criteria for the special land use. So that was one of the criteria, so that's why I asked. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the answer.
DPW, Matt, our engineer, did like a preliminary review of this and, he didn't have concerns with storm because it's already paved area, so you're not gonna have an increase in runoff likely. And then, just made notes on some sewer, like, I think what you called or asked about, Tim, was the IPP, like, they'll have to go through that process and so, but there were no big red flags from DPW on the development.
Thanks. Thank you.
I have one question. Do you recycle water?
Do car washes recycle water?
Yes.
So some do, in the research that I've done. With city sewer, it's not as, common. When you're dealing with rural areas, they'll do some recycling where they'll have bio stuff that, tracks the water and it cleans it, and then they'll kind of recycle it, but that's typically in a septic area, not inside the city limits that has the services.
I did not know whether there were any specific laws or ordinances upon this that say, okay, you can have this car wash, but you have to use 60% recycled water and 40% fresh water.
There's definitely reclaiming systems.
Okay,
Um,
that makes sense.
yeah, that do reclaim some of the water. It's not typical in city situations or municipality situations that have these services.
And this is a conveyor belt, so you.
Yeah, it's
you
actually
get
pretty,
on and it pulls you through.
yeah, it's actually like a moving sidewalk. It's pretty slick. It's not like the track. So you can,
You don't have to
you
worry
can
so
go in a
much
little
about it.
kitty wampus or,
That's nice.
and it just kinda pulls you through
Yeah.
as opposed to the channel.
And then, so is it, I thought I was done talking, but I guess I'm not. So it has like the brushes and all that stuff as opposed to water pressure.
Yep. As, the pictures that I enclosed is from a company called Tommy Express. If you've ever seen a Tommy's car wash,
Yeah, I think I have.
they're in Grand Rapids, they're in Traverse City, Petoskey. Yeah, I'm not saying it's gonna be a Tommy's. That's kind of what we're modeling the, concept off of. There's 3 or 4 companies that we would consider. I know it's quite the investment.
Well, commissioners, are you,
So I would move that we recommend approval of the special use permit to the city commission, being that it meets all the requirements under ordinance.
Second?
do we have to mention that it doesn't cover that site plan review?
We can make
Well,
now
I,
just a
I
special.
specifically
use.
left out the site plan and I said
Yeah.
special use.
Okay, perfect.
I'll make sure to specify that and everything.
Okay, and so do we have to do a roll call for that?
Vogel,
Yes,
Montgomery,
Yes.
Reddick,
Yes.
Borowski,
Yes.
Boozy.
Yes.
So that approval is,
And the next meeting is March 3rd at 6:30. Same place. Okay.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
And then, can I ask a clarifying question? That's okay with your time?
yes.
So after March 3rd, making some assumptions, is that when, so if they approve it, it will be conditionally approved at that point, and then that's when
You have to do
we
it.
start spending some money?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, you wanna wait till the city commission approves it.
Yeah, and then you'll go through
Before
the
you
site
spend
plan
any more money.
process.
Yes.
Right. So there'll be a laundry list of contingencies and then, okay.
Yeah.
Just want to understand.
They won't do a laundry list of contingencies, you'll just have to go through a site plan review and all of the standards for site plan are in our ordinance.
Yeah, because I know there's, you have to maintain a certain amount of parking, 4.5 per,
Yeah,
So many
yeah,
square
yeah,
feet.
parking and landscaping,
yep,
yeah, and your engineer will help you through all of that.
right.
Sounds good.
Thanks everybody for their time. Good night, leave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. More than welcome to leave.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're gonna move down our agenda. So the CIP review and recommendation to the city commission on the 2025 through 2031 capital improvement plan.
So, I already have a note from Sam that I butchered his name on the front page, so. That I need to make.
Good catch, Sam.
But other than that, if you remember, we talked about the CIP last meeting and you guys went through the ranking system. And so the process after that, once we have the department heads and the rank, is we figure out what we think approximately budget-wise we can spend on, projects per year. And that's included on in your packet on page 12. And then we, as a committee, which is city manager, city treasurer, public works, and myself, sit down and go through all of the projects, look at the rankings, and try to determine, which projects we can fund, which ones we've somewhat already committed through, maybe through processes that are already underway in the city, and what ones we can add, and that's how we come up with the list of recommended projects. So like this year, the city commission has already approved going forward and applying for a grant to do some project at the city pool, so that's a significant match for that grant that is included in the CIP. And the other big project that we haven't technically committed to it, but we are in the process of working through it, is we've been out to bid for our new fire truck. And so that's a significant, cost.
To clarify, the bid's been received and is currently being mulled over by the commission and the
Yeah.
city manager.
Yes, so it's in process, will likely be done before budget adoption. Okay, so
Is that truck still currently at $750,000?
The current bid is over what the city commission was hoping to see as far as a budget, and we're currently in a review process to see if that can be ratified. Either by the budget coming up or the bid coming down, depending on where they wanna go.
So, and the fire engine will take I think it's 2 years to build. It's a process.
I spoke to an officer at a neighboring department who put an order for a truck in a couple weeks ago and expects delivery at the end of '26.
That'd be about 2 years. So this budget, so the plan, we budgeted for some of it last year. It was included in our CIP last year. We have, in this CIP, we have another 250 budgeted, and then the thought is that we can also budget for it next year in our CIP to try to break up the cost over the years, so it's not a big chunk every time, but.
So the 250 in this 25-26 fiscal year is in addition to what's already been put aside.
How much has been put aside now?
We put 250 away
Altogether, what was the budget?
last year. We put away this fiscal year that we're currently in is 250 as well.
So the budget's 500 for the truck?
Plus we'll have to do 250 next year, cause the
Okay,
budget
Okay,
is a,
cause I didn't think you could build one for 500.
Yeah, don't quote me on this for
Don't
exactly, but I wanna say the current bid is right around 780.
Oh,
or
that
so.
sounds,
Pretty reasonable.
Well, then that's assuming a lot of things like we can get in the new, with the current emission standards and things like that. I won't go into all of it because I don't know enough to speak intelligently. But there's a lot of other things that might change that price. I did have a clarifying question on the fireworks.
yes.
So 15 grand for the CIP, is the hope to raise another 10 or to raise 10 to replace and have the total cost be 5?
To raise another 10.
So to have 25. Okay.
Yes, and I can give you a little bit of history if you're interested in that. If you're not,
I'm curious.
I am curious what it costs us.
so typically the city has always just donated money towards the fireworks. The CVB did them last year. Prior to that, the JCs were very involved in doing the fireworks. They no longer exist. COVID, we didn't have them. And so we got a call from the fireworks company that we've been using in the past and asked who he needed to contact. Right now, there's no executive director at the CVB. And so it has fallen to the city to determine if we're going to have fireworks or not. We don't feel like it's something that you can go without as the city our size to not have fireworks. So that's why it's included in the CIP this year. And then we'll just have to, February? So we need to book quickly or we won't have a date around the 4th of July. And then hopefully we can start the process earlier next year and try to figure out how to move forward.
I think it's good it's in there.
The 15,000 to review employee pay, are we going with the outside contractor to do that? Why is that part of the CIP and not just part of the city employee duties?
It is part of, Tim had that question too, he emailed it to me today. It's part of the CIP because it could have a long-term impact on the city's budget, depending on how the review comes back.
I'll be honest, that doesn't explain 15 grand.
And it is an outside, like it's something we
It's
would,
an outside contractor.
yeah, we would put it out for probably request for proposals or something to find someone to do it. It's not being done with an in-house.
And then, forgive me, I can't remember that far back because I'm getting up there in years. Was the airport tractor a recent addition to the CIP?
It was, so the airport tractor originally, I think was requested like 3 years from now. It was in our original CIP request, but it was multiple years down the road. It caught on fire.
I wanna know if that was the same one.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, it caught on fire a few weeks, or last week,
Last
maybe the
week.
week before, last week. So it got moved up in importance. It was like a 1978 tractor that they had gotten from W, I believe, I'm not sure.
That's where they got it.
That's where they got it. And it finally kicked the can.
Yes, it did. My only comments, I think everything looks terrific. But all the program information about CIPs, it doesn't seem that the employee review or the fireworks fits. And I'm not, you gotta do those other two things, of course, but I'm not sure that they fit in the capital improvements program. But that's just me, because I have a long-term memory of doing this for 30 years. But if you don't have a problem, I guess that's fine. I do have, I have one question, maybe you can, I can't recall. When we're thinking about this Fuller Avenue development, I recall that the culvert on Woodward Avenue needs to be replaced. Is that part of the CP, has that already been set aside, or? And the reason when I look at it in the master plan, there's that Mitchell Creek comes all the way through there, and that everything drains that way. And whatever development that's gonna happen, it's gonna be a substantial stormwater issue, it just seems to me. And, but I just don't remember how that drained, if it ever got approved, I didn't see it here, I looked around, I didn't see it, I wondered.
It, I think, was in last year's CIP
Okay.
to be included as a part. I think that's the one we're partnering with the county.
Okay. Okay,
on
I
doing.
couldn't recall, and I just thought, well, let's make sure that we've covered that, so.
That's the one, yeah, I'm
You-
pretty sure that's the one
Okay.
we're partnering with the county on, replacing that culvert.
Okay,
Doing.
perfect.
I guess, Tim, I'm curious, why does it not fit in the CIP?
I'm sorry, what?
Why do those two things not fit in the CIP?
Well, I think, when I think of capital improvements, I think of hard things.
Oh, sure.
You know, I think, you know, you're gonna pave a road, or you're going to do, well, almost everything on here, with the exception of those two things.
Physical.
Though, you know, these are things that you're gonna do anyway, I mean, you don't, you know, I know it's gonna cost more than $7,500, but you spend a lot, you have a lot of, different components in the city that cost that much that aren't part of the CIP, because they're just doing the business of the city.
Sure.
I think-
It seems like those two things are just the business of the city.
I think for the employee review, we kind of viewed it on like how we're updating our zoning ordinance. And last year that was included in the CIP as part of funding for the CIP of improvement of the zoning ordinance. So, I mean, it's I understand where you're at and how,
Well, as if I understand it correctly, the CIP and the Plan Commission relationship is to make sure that, that the master plan and the zoning all work together, and then you have the CIPs that help in that direction.
yes,
It makes sense that the zoning would be in there. That, to me, it makes sense.
right.
I think that's a thing, I mean, that's something that's part of what we're doing here. And so in those two things, I don't see it,
Okay.
but,
I agree with you, especially on the fireworks. I can totally see what you're saying.
you know,
Yeah,
I want the
after-
fireworks.
Of course, I
You
want
know,
the
well,
fireworks.
I want those things, but
Absolutely.
I just, it doesn't seem to fit
It
in
falls
the
under, yeah.
CIP, but that's just me.
It seemed like the fireworks is kind of its own issue too, after watching the other meeting. I didn't
Stay
really,
tuned.
yeah, I didn't really understand, yeah.
You know,
I don't understand why they're a part of this. It doesn't seem like it fits with everything. But I also they weren't a part when we rated them, were they?
They were not. They
Okay.
have just recently been come up as discussion.
I think the three things we've talked about were everything else was there.
Everything else
The
was
three
there.
things, the tractor and those two things were, and that happens, I mean,
Oh, yeah, like,
but
catch on fire.
it's on fire.
So I guess what we're doing here today is to recommend or not the approval of the CIP to the city commission. Is there a way to do, if we wanted to go the route of approval, is there a way to address the concerns of, we don't really think that fits in the CIP and it's just doing business?
So there's two ways you could do it. You could just note it, that you have concerns that those two items don't fit in the CIP, or you could recommend approval with their removal.
Not to throw anyone under the bus, cause I would never do that, but it seems like in the past when we've made notes on approvals, they don't always get discussed at higher levels.
Well, I think we
Which
can.
I'm not
we
asking
can-
for comment from staff on, I'm just making a note.
We can make I think we could recommend the CIP, let's see, but just put it with the,
You can make it a motion with the recommendation of approval, with the exclusion of including the fireworks and the employee review.
and the commission can do they'll do what they think is best, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just recommend that they review the legitimacy of those two being on this list.
Or you could do it that way. You could do it.
We just want them to review that, like, this looks good, but there's some questions there, they should probably discuss that.
Yes.
Part of our job, right, is to look at the red flags and mention them or ask them to
And I think that's
reconsider.
within our purview, right, I mean, it's like, hey, this looks good, here's your red flags, here's your questions.
Yeah.
And then they'll do what they do with it. If it comes back
Yeah.
or whatever, it comes back.
And I think they do respect what the planning commission sees, you know, I think they respect that, so I don't think they just jump right over it. I mean, I do think that they, consider this commission, I mean, we're not here just for the fun of it or just to like hire. So I think that if you make that noted, then respectfully, I would expect, whether they do it or not, that they should know that it's something that we were looking at and made enough notice of it and enough discussion of it that we asked it to be reviewed.
I would agree. Before we bring Dodge to Big Rapids.
So, but we all do want fireworks, so.
Yes, absolutely.
So I suppose in the end, I don't really have a whole lot to say about the employee pay review. I agree, it doesn't necessarily fit in, but it's the fireworks that we all want, just maybe it's in the wrong place. But I thought everything looked really good too.
So I'll move that the, plan commission recommend, to the city commission that the, do we want the whole thing here, to the 2025 to
2031,
2031,
improvement plan.
recommend its approval, with the exception of the, employee review and fireworks line items. Then it's pretty clear that way.
Yep.
And see what, you know.
I need a second on that.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Hold on. Okay. Are you ready for a roll call? Montgomery,
Yes.
Reddick,
Yes.
Boozy,
Yes.
Marowski,
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes. There's just a couple other things I noticed on this sheet, the motor pool wasn't on here. If that's important, I don't know. And then, on this sheet, the downtown development wasn't on this one. That's all.
Which one don't you? I'll get them from you here after, cause I didn't see what page you had for motor pool. Oh, program funding,
Yeah, that's all.
okay.
Okay, we did some good business there. So, we're gonna move down to general business. So staff, you want to talk to us about the pilot request?
We are postponing that as well.
Nothing to talk about.
There's nothing to talk about, it was the same request from the rezoning property and they asked for a postponement.
Planning Commission annual report.
The city, so part of the Michigan Enabling Act is that we have to do an annual report for the planning commission. Technically, we're only required to do it for the planning commission and we don't have to do it for the ZBA or the city office of community development. But we kind of off all of that in our annual report, so that is before you. The planning commission had 9 meetings last year. We gained Sam met as a board member and we heard a lot of different items on the agenda, on our agendas. I'm not going through them all, you were all here.
Yeah, we read them all.
The zoning board of appeals had a few less agenda item, or meetings, they only had 5 regular meetings. 2 of their meetings were about accessory structures in residential areas, larger than what are permitted by right. One was about a non-conforming use, and another one was about increasing an occupancy, in an R3 district. It was a house that was a large house. It had, I think, 5 or 6 bedrooms already in it. They asked, they were using, that were permitted. There was another bedroom in the house that hadn't been used previously, so they just requested to add another bedroom to the current occupancy level. It's rented by Ferris students. So we didn't hear too much pushback on that. That went pretty smoothly. That was kind of a different one that the board hadn't had before, at least under my purview. We also, the other big thing that you guys worked on and the community worked on as a whole was the adoption of the master plan. Buttoned it up in January technically, but we really buttoned it up at the end of last year. Housing goals and objectives, and all the goals and objectives are included in the annual report. What we'll probably do in the future, now that we have those goals and objectives and we have the implementation strategy and the master plan, what I'd like to do is use this time, like next year, during our annual report to review what work has been done in those goals and objectives and what work has been done on the implementation strategy that we've accomplished as a planning commission to make the annual report a little bit more robust and actually give us some direction on where we've accomplished and things we still need to do, instead of just a highlight of our year.
Good idea.
That's all I have. Next up is our zoning ordinance update. RFP out for it right now. Hearing from firms by Monday, I think it's due, and then we'll go about setting up a committee to help work through that process. Probably will include 1 or 2 planning commission members on that committee, and then we'll pull some people from the community to be a part of that committee too, so that we have some vast array of input similar to what we had on the master plan.
Sounds great.
Go team.
Go team. So all I need is just a move,
So moved.
there you go.
Okay, do we have any unscheduled business?
Nope.
Okay, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. It is 7:24.